Confronted with disdain at the bank, I, Jack, remained unfazed despite the humiliation. As I exited, having concluded my transactions, an individual scornfully addressed me. My indifference only served to aggravate him more, prompting him to make a scandalous suggestion that I flee and never return, proposing that the impoverished would be better off hiding their savings beneath their mattresses. Resigned, I decided to heed his advice, acknowledging my financial status and choosing to abandon the bank. I'm the proprietor of a factory bequeathed by my father. Now at the age of 63, I still harbor a youthful spirit, although I admit to a preference for traditional methods over technological advancements, leaving digital tasks to my son. Despite suggestions from my wife to retire and pass the reins to my son, my dedication to work persists as long as I am able. My son, having joined the factory post-graduation, has proven his competence and gained the employees' trust. Yet, my passion for work remains undiminished. Operating within the manufacturing sector often subjects us to undue scrutiny, yet our small-scale operation offers unique advantages, such as a familial bond among employees and a culture of collective mentorship for newcomers. This sense of community has only deepened with age. From an early age, my father, Ralph, envisioned me succeeding him as president, a notion I initially embraced but later struggled with, leading to a period of rebellion and estrangement. It wasn't until my decision to marry and introduce my fiancée to my family that I reconnected with my father, realizing the inevitable passage of time. Encouraged by my wife, I rejoined the family business, starting from the bottom and eventually assuming leadership at 38. Over the years, despite economic challenges, our collective resilience has seen us through. Our factory is situated near a prominent bank branch, marking a significant aspect of our operational environment. The bank I frequently visit is generally convenient, despite occasionally being crowded. The staff service is always polite and welcoming. However, this year brought a change with a new hire named Anthony, whose attitude was noticeably poor. I had interacted with Anthony previously. On one occasion, I went to withdraw $300. He was initially polite and seemed efficient, ensuring customers weren't kept waiting. When I requested the withdrawal, his demeanor shifted, showing annoyance at the modest sum, although he maintained a facade of politeness. As I moved to the waiting area, I overheard him disparagingly comment on the amount, though I chose not to confront him to avoid being seen as troublesome. When my transaction was ready, Anthony's behavior appeared normal, but as I was leaving, he made another derogatory comment. Despite this, I continued to use the bank, and Anthony's service deteriorated further, especially when I made small transactions. Typically, I visit the bank to make deposits before payday, utilizing the branch near our factory. With a looming deadline and dressed in my work clothes, I hoped for a quick visit despite the bank's proximity. It was crowded, leading to a lengthy wait. When it was my turn, Anthony was the teller, instantly showing disdain for my attire. Accustomed to his rude remarks, I ignored his reaction and proceeded to make a substantial deposit, wishing to avoid any unnecessary confrontation and quickly return to my work. "I'm making a deposit," I stated, extending the deposit slip to him, but he didn't accept it. "It seems you didn't hear me, so let me be clear, this place isn't for people like you." "Do you understand?" he retorted. Despite his hostility, I reminded him of my long-standing patronage of the bank and my position as a company president, likely earning more than a new employee like him. I questioned his approach to customer service, especially since my attire, while worn, did not detract from the bank's image. "I'm sorry, but I'm in a rush today. Can we expedite this process?" I asked, aiming for efficiency. His response, however, only escalated in rudeness. "I'm telling you to leave. Don't waste our time with such small transactions," he snapped, infuriating me. Yet, the urgency to complete the deposit for my employees' salaries by 10 a.m., as per our internal guideline, remained my priority. Deciding against further interaction with Anthony, I opted to queue again for a different teller. The wait was shorter this time, and my deposit was processed without issue by another staff member who did not comment on my appearance. As I was about to leave, Anthony confronted me outside the bank. His tone had shifted to one of informality and accusation, blaming me for the reprimand he had received from his supervisor. He insinuated that my presence and refusal to be dissuaded by his initial rudeness were the causes of his scolding, displaying a blatant disregard for professional conduct. I pointed out that any reprimand he received was due to his behavior, not my actions. Other staff members had treated me respectfully, highlighting his inappropriate conduct. He then accused me of being at fault for simply using the bank services, claiming he was just informing me of my supposed incompatibility with the bank standards. His unwillingness to acknowledge his misconduct and his attempt to justify it only emphasized his lack of professionalism. I appreciate that our team lacks individuals with such negative attitudes. Am I to be barred from banking simply because of financial status? Surely, no rule dictates such exclusion. The idea of feeling shame for utilizing a bank never crossed my mind. It's merely a necessary service, not a venue for superficial judgments. Do individuals genuinely concern themselves with appearances in such mundane tasks? Personally, I find the notion burdensome. Unlike the teller, I don't prioritize my attire for brief errands, opting to focus on efficiency over fashion. Responding to his provocation, I quickly dismissed his further comments, emphasizing my urgent need to depart. His suggestion to resort to mattress banking left me momentarily speechless. The thought of safeguarding crucial company funds in such a manner, especially the employees' salaries, seemed absurd. Yet, faced with his unwarranted escalation, I conceded to his perspective, declaring my intention to cease using the bank. Anthony's surprise at my concession likely stemmed from his anticipation of a contentious response, aiming to deflect his stress. In the following days, after addressing my immediate responsibilities, I visited a new bank, situated slightly further from both my home and factory. This decision was influenced by the bank's modern services, including ATM access at convenience stores and online payroll management. Despite my initial reservations about digital banking, my son's guidance proved invaluable, enhancing the convenience of these services. Upon finalizing the new account setup, my next task was to transfer all funds from the old account and formally close it. The bank was unusually quiet, allowing for swift service. When I requested the transfer of $350 million to the new account, the clerk's shock was palpable, mistaking the transaction for potential fraud. The matter was quickly escalated to the branch manager, Andrew, who inquired about my reasons for closing the account. I explained my decision to switch to a bank that better suited my needs, marking the end of my association with their branch. I won't be using this bank anymore and would like to close my account, I stated, mentioning the rival bank. Andrew appeared worried and commented on the distance, suggesting their bank was more convenient given my factory's location. However, I explained my decision to operate online, which mitigates the inconvenience. Despite Andrew's attempts to highlight various benefits, my decision was firm. When asked for a specific reason for my dissatisfaction, I mentioned an encounter with a young banker named Anthony, who had inappropriately suggested that poor people should not frequent the bank but rather keep their money under a mattress. This led to my decision to close my account. Andrew was visibly upset by this and apologized profusely, acknowledging that while not all employees shared Anthony's viewpoint, the incident was unacceptable. Andrew then summoned Anthony, who appeared reluctant. Under Andrew's stern questioning, Anthony attempted to justify his behavior by complaining about my small transactions, claiming they were a nuisance during busy times. Andrew, clearly frustrated, rebuked Anthony for such an attitude, emphasizing that it's inappropriate for a banker to judge customers by the amount of their transactions. Andrew insisted on a proper apology from Anthony, but Anthony's pride turned to defiance, claiming he had done nothing wrong. Andrew, maintaining his composure, expressed disappointment, stressing the importance of treating all customers with respect and attention, regardless of the transaction size. He apologized to me, acknowledging the failure in their service. Despite Andrew's sincere apology and understanding of the situation, Anthony remained unapologetic, questioning the need to appease someone who would no longer be a customer. His reaction underscored a misunderstanding of the value of customer service and the negative impact of his behavior. Andrew, prioritizing the bank's reputation and customer satisfaction, proceeded with the account closure, demonstrating a commitment to uphold the bank's standards, even in the face of challenging attitudes from within. I haven't done anything wrong, right? We were dumbfounded by Anthony's blatant defiance. Someone like him, you don't understand what kind of person John is, do you? Anthony, misunderstanding completely, laughed offensively. I understand perfectly, a poor person who doesn't deposit much money but has the leisure to come to the bank. You don't understand at all, was the rebuttal. Jack runs a factory and has been managing a corporate account with us, depositing hundreds of billions. You chased him away when he tried to transfer from the corporate account. Anthony, under the impression I was financially insignificant, began to panic upon realizing his mistake might cost the bank a major client. If I knew, I wouldn't have acted that way. Why didn't you tell me, Andrew? He pleaded, trying to deflect blame. Andrew responded, I did tell you during your training, and I've reminded you daily to treat all customers with courtesy. Despite Anthony's late apology and promises to change, the gesture felt insincere. How can I trust someone who judges and looks down on people based on their financial status? I questioned. Anthony's apologies seemed hollow, his prior arrogance making his contrition hard to believe. Just because I'm apologizing, you think you can look down on me? He retorted, his brief display of humility vanishing. Andrew, having had enough, warned Anthony of potential dismissal, to which Anthony threatened to complain to headquarters, blaming Andrew for bullying. Andrew stood firm, prepared to face any accusations, emphasizing Anthony's unprofessionalism. Anthony's insistence on his innocence and refusal to accept responsibility showcased a lack of emotional maturity. That's exactly why you're not trustworthy, I pointed out, highlighting his superficial attempts at reconciliation. The situation escalated to silence from Anthony, faced with the reality that his actions had led to a significant financial loss for the bank and a wasted opportunity for genuine apology. Even a newcomer should understand the gravity of their actions and reflect on this properly from now on. Finally, Anthony had nothing to retort. He opened his mouth several times as if to say something, but no words came out. In the end, Andrew processed the cancellation, and I transferred the corporate account to another bank. I truly apologize for this time, and thank you for using our services over the years. If there's ever a chance, please consider using us again. Andrew politely saw me out as I left the bank. Though I feel sorry for Andrew, I doubt I'll ever consider using this place again. Andrew had been generous in his response to Anthony's actions, considering Anthony was still in his first year, opting for a severe reprimand and a pay cut with the intention of retraining him from scratch. However, it seemed Anthony couldn't stand being scolded severely. He probably wasn't used to being reprimanded. Despite Andrew's kindness, Anthony wasted it, sulking and letting his work attitude deteriorate further. His colleagues looked at him coldly. He caused a major problem with his actions yet showed no remorse and insulted instead. No one was willing to cover for such a person. Anthony seemed to have become isolated. Andrew had been willing to look after him until the end, but Anthony pushed him away. It's your fault I'm in this situation, he lashed out, eventually quitting on his own by slamming down his resignation letter. There are plenty of companies that want me, he left with those parting words, but real life was not so easy. Anthony thought he would quickly find another job, but he was repeatedly rejected at the document screening stage, not even making it to an interview. He hadn't realized how harshly the world judges the newcomer who quits within a year, unless it was due to illness, injury, or an exceptionally toxic workplace. Quitting so soon is generally seen unfavorably, and Anthony's case was simply running away. Even if he managed to get to an interview, passing would be difficult. Having been part of many interviews, I've seen a lot of people, among them were young individuals who, like Anthony, quit their jobs shortly after starting. I've heard various reasons, including complaints about their previous companies and admissions of lacking patience. We've hired such young people if they seemed capable of continuing with us, but if I were the interviewer, I wouldn't choose Anthony. He hasn't shown remorse for his actions and would likely quit again if faced with similar circumstances. Experience teaches you to recognize such tendencies. Without a change in attitude, he won't find employment. After starting to use online banking with my son's support, I've become proficient in its use. Once accustomed, the convenience and time-saving aspect of not needing to physically go to a bank is significant. While I can forgive Anthony, this situation has been a good opportunity. As you age, there's a tendency to be resistant to new things. However, I now aim to be more open to adopting new technologies, riding the wave of change. Like that, I want to work as long as possible.